I'm Emily Francis, and welcome to our special Sukkot episode of Holy Land Uncovered, on location in the ancient city of David. I am standing on a recently finished rope footbridge that is connecting the old to the new. Stay with us as we present an incredible special celebrating the Feast of the Tabernacles. And we start our show with a beautiful view overlooking the ancient city of David, 3,000 years old, just on the other side of this hill. And even we have a bridge here that is literally a bridge between ancient times and modern times. And it's all made possible to the work of our first guest and her amazing team. We have Uriah Dasberg, who is the head of development for the city of David. Thank you so much for hosting us, and Chag Sameach to you.
Emily, Chag Sameach, Chag Sameach. Thank you for coming.
Of course. Listen, I can see from your smiles just how passionate you are about your job. First, explain where we are. We're not in the old city of David, where you see the ancient history, but why this area is such an important spot.
So as you said, I'm the luckiest girl in the world working here in the city of David, like you said, the city of 3,000 years old, where our nation, the Jewish nation, was born. It was actually here in this spot, in the city of David. And where we're standing now, it is Gei Ben Hinnom, the valley of hell. This is what it used to look like, hell. This is where people were sacrificed, babies were sacrificed just here. And what we're doing is we're turning hell into heaven.
Wow.
This is our mission, to turn hell into heaven. And now when you walk around and you see all these kids walking around here, and the valley is flourishing with activities, and now Sukkot, people are coming for a beautiful festival here in the valley of heaven. Gei Ben Hinnom, we are turning it into
wow,
heaven.
wow.
And if we go back, Emily, 3,000 years ago, you can imagine, just close your eyes, you and our watchers, just close your eyes and imagine 3,000 years ago, millions of people from all over the world coming here. Why, Emily? Where are they going? Why are they coming to Jerusalem? Why are they coming here? They're going all the way down from here, as you said, crossing this hill to the Siloam pool, gathering everyone together, purifying themselves together. It doesn't matter where I come from, what is my religion, what do I believe, what do I think, did I fight with my wife this morning, did I have an argument with someone? We gather everyone together, we purify, we breathe, and we walk all the way up the Pilgrim's Road to the Temple Mount.
Wow.
3 times a year, Sukkot, Shavuot, Pesach, 3 times a year, Sukkot, now.
So to think back in ancient times, literally, people would come here by foot from all over the world. Like I remember, it's like you could have a relative in Iraq, and you could be from Spain, and they would meet here.
Yes, exactly.
3 times a year.
All the people
but how long would it take them to get here?
Exactly. This is why they need places to stay, places to sleep, places to eat, places to host. And it says in the Mishnah that everyone was opening their houses. Come, stay with us, stay, enjoy our place here in Jerusalem. And together we walk up to the Temple Mount. And today, when the people, we have so much fights between ourselves and arguments, this is the time when we can just remember what it used to be like when everyone gathered together and had one mission, to bring ourselves and our presence to the temple and to be united, not divided, united. And this is what the city of David is for everyone.
Wow.
A place of being
What do you
united.
think, I just have this thought, what do you think King David would be saying right now if he were alive, watching exactly what is happening now? I mean, we all need to be in a sukkah, the entire country needs to be in a sukkah together, the entire political establishment needs to be together in a sukkah. I mean, I know I'm being idealistic, but why is this year so much more important given the past year we've had internally here?
I think if King David was here today, he would simply sit and write another poem in the Psalms book, right?
And play the harp.
He would play the harp, because music brings everyone together. And this place here, what we call the heaven of the valley, what we do every week is a music ceremony with everyone coming before Shabbat, Kabbalat Shabbat. Everyone, you come, you stand here and you see people all different kinds in Israel coming here for Kabbalat Shabbat, because music and speaking and gathering together is the place where we are united. So if King David was here, he would say, just remember where it all started Where did we all begin our lives from? Our religion, where did it come from? Our Judaism, our nation.
Yeah.
It all started here.
Wow.
And I'm really inviting you with your beautiful kids and all our people that are watching us today. Come and visit the place where Jerusalem was born, the place where we started our way up to the Temple Mount, and the city of David every day. Even if you were here last month, last week, yesterday, every day there is something new to see because we keep excavating. And just a few months ago, we started excavating the Siloam pool. And we're finding the steps walking down to the pool where people used to come and bathe.
From the first temple or second temple?
Second temple. But we know that once we excavate more and more and more, we might get to the first temple pool. So we have this amazing team of workers working in the Siloam pool, digging every day and finding more and more stuff. And the whole of the city of David, you know, it's only about 25% which is being excavated now. So just imagine what else we can find keeping to excavate it. And I really hope you come and just enjoy what I'm enjoying every day.
I'm going to come when I'm not working to sit and really enjoy and spend the whole day and really see how it's done.
And the bridge that you were mentioning,
yes.
Also it's open to everyone. It's open 7 days a week. It's free. Anyone can come and just walk from one side to the other.
Incredible.
And enjoy this beautiful
Look
view.
at this pilgrimage road right
amazing?
here. The technology is caught up to build this.
Exactly.
Amazing. Thank you so much for your hospitality and your enthusiasm.
And
we really appreciate it. We will, we promise.
Thank you. Chag Sameach.
Chag Sameach to you too. Jewish burial practices have fascinated history buffs for many generations. Well, now a recent installation at the City of David showcased photographs taken of newly discovered Jewish catacombs in Rome dating back to the 3rd century CE. Here's more in this next report. The famous catacombs of Rome are among the most popular attractions that the ancient city has to offer. These mysterious and ancient underground tunnels also tell the story of Jewish life after the destruction of the biblical temple in Jerusalem in 70 CE.
Most of the Romans who lived in Rome, a huge metropolis with hundreds of thousands of people, were buried by cremation. However, the Jews and also the Christian community rejected cremation because of the biblical order ashes to ashes. The solution to this problem of burying in such a huge city where land is extremely expensive for Jews and Christians was in the early ages is to bury in underground tunnels. Overall, we know of 64 catacombs in Rome. Most of them belong to the Christian community, but a few of them are Jewish.
In 2018, Dr. Yuval Baruch of the Israeli Antiquities Authority joined a delegation held by the ultra-Orthodox group Asra Kadisha.
This organization is mostly known to the public for its activity in disputes between ultra-Orthodox and archaeologists. However, in this event, we cooperated. The goal was to collect the bones of Jews which were spread in a catacomb system called Villa Tornolia and to rebury them in their grave and to preserve them, according to the rabbinical laws. We joined this group in order to document the system. We used some of our new technology. For me, it was an experience which really sparked my curiosity and led to other visits in the site.
The outcome of this journey was presented in a special display at the City of David under the name Secrets of Jerusalem in Rome. Dr. Baruch says that we can see a clear connection between the Jewish tombs of Rome and the ones in the Holy Land, such as the famous burial site Bet She'arim.
When we study the issue of the Jewish catacombs, the Jewish art, the Jewish community in the diaspora, wherever it is, we can notice a clear phenomenon, the connection to Jerusalem and especially to the Jewish temple. We can see it through the use of the menorah symbol. It became the main symbol for the Jewish people, back then and until today.
Dr. Baruch says that more and more details from the Jewish catacombs have been uncovered in recent years, and it's fascinating to see just how much more of the Jewish story in Rome may be buried under the ancient rubble. We're going to take a short break. Please don't go anywhere. When we come back, we have much more for you of our special Sukkot episode of Holy Land Uncovered. Welcome back to our special episode of Holy Land Uncovered on location outside of Jerusalem. We're now joined by Ron Isai, the former ambassador to Kazakhstan and also a scholar and an overall very interesting young man. Hello and Hag Sameach, and thank you for joining us.
Hag Sameach, and thank you for defining me young.
That's right.
To my spouse.
We're young in spirit. So explain the meaning. I know you spent a lot of years in Kazakhstan. Explain, I guess that's an interesting metaphor to Sukkot and the meaning of Sukkot, to be abroad celebrating Sukkot in a country, that is mainly Muslim, correct?
That's correct.
Why was that a profound experience for you in your years there?
Because it's very interesting and it's very specific for Sukkot, because the Kazakh people, as a nomad people, the hospitality for them is a sacred value. Probably because it was related to survival. Mm-hmm. When you wander in the desert, in the steppe, which is like a desert, but only minus 40 degrees Celsius below zero, that's correct. So hospitality is a matter of survival. And for the Kazakh people, and by the way, we the Jews are very closely related to that, because they saved a lot of Jewish lives during the Second World War, when many Jews, hundreds of thousands, and not to say more, were evacuated from the western parts of the Soviet Union to Asia, to Central Asia. Around 100,000 were coming to or arrived to Kazakhstan, and they told me that the elders of the community, that the Kazakh people had nothing. They had nothing. Very poor nation at the time. And they said the nothing that they had, they shared with us, which is something that is very rare. It's a country, it's a nation, a people without any sense of anti-Semitism. They are open to everything. They host everybody. And there is a Kazakh here. There is a Kazakh expression that when a guest arrives the tent, it's like God arrived the tent. He is the most important person. He gets the best seat. He gets the best food and other things. So Sukkot, which is a Chag, a holiday of hosting people, is very, very, I would say, in a unique way related to the place that I served in.
You also wrote an indelible article called Before Balfour. I know you relate kind of these important situations, Balfour, comparing to what King Cyrus did, in the 6th century BCE. Explain the significance, why it's still relevant today, and what it has to do with Sukkot.
Well, first of all, we're in Jerusalem, and Sukkot was one of the 3 times in a year that when all the people came to Jerusalem in pilgrimage, as written in the Torah. And Jerusalem is the one place that kept, in my view, kept the Jewish people together, united for 2,000 years, when we were all isolated and separated and distributed all over the world. We prayed for Jerusalem. We looked at Jerusalem as the common place for all of us. And Donna Gracia Mendes, Donna Gracia Nasi, one of the most influential ladies among Jews and others in history, tried to buy Jerusalem from the Ottoman Sultan and to establish here a Jewish colony to become later
in the 16th century.
In the 16th century, yes. Later she got only Tiberias, but she was the first Zionist to try and re-establish the Jewish people back in the land of Israel. Now, this is part of the article, actually. And Herzl based his attempt vis-a-vis the Sultan, the Ottoman Sultan, on the license, on the lease that Donna Gracia received 400 years earlier. So this, I think, contains the whole story.
So, yes, Dona Gracia, for sure, a very, very interesting woman that did a lot, and it's great that her memory is also being included in your work. So, thank you very much for joining us and for all your incredible work and dedication to the history of Jerusalem.
Thank you very much. Chag Sameach and Gmar Chatima Tova.
Toda Rabba. Winemaking in this region dates back thousands of years. Even in more recent ancient history, there were exports during the Roman Empire, even to Europe. Now, a new initiative is regrowing ancient seeds and trying to revive this wine industry. Here's more from I-24 News correspondent Erica Jackson.
This isn't any ordinary vineyard. It's part of Israel's roots as an ancient wine destination.
We are actually bringing back the ancient vines to the vineyards of the Negev.
Here in Avdat National Park, the past meets the present, with 2 grape varieties that are ancient, planted in the very area where they were originally cultivated 1,500 years ago. The vines were recovered through seeds discovered in archaeological excavations and have been reproduced thanks to groundbreaking DNA research.
We are in Avdat. Just behind us is the cave where the grape seeds were found. It was found in a kind of concentrations of dozens of grape seeds together.
As part of the research, the seeds were compared to 3,000 grape species until a match was found.
Most would agree that there is about 3,000 varieties of grapevine all over the world. Out of the 3,000, how many are locally authentic, that are part of our heritage past? This was a kind of our mission in terms of our search to try and to answer this.
And today we are planting these grapes here about 50 or 60 meters from the cave that we found the seeds in.
Avdat National Park, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, was a major trade route in the past. In the ancient world, the city was a significant wine production and export center. The wine from the Negev Desert gained a reputation, and the beverage eventually flowed into Europe.
Here in the Negev, not only do we have good wines, we're talking about quality wines that were brought from the Negev to every European city in the Roman Empire, the late Roman Empire and the early Byzantine times. Wine was exported from Avdat, where we stand right now, to Gaza, and from the Gaza port it was actually shipped all around Europe.
The amount of wine that was manufactured here was quite outstanding.
The seeds aren't just a part of Israel's history. The vines which have been planted could allow Israel to grow even more as a wine tourism destination.
We're actually right now in a destination of one of the most, I would say, innovative ancient routes of merchandise in the ancient times. And this is where it all happened. So bringing the story of the vineyards into the story of the perfume and spice routes conducted with the Nabateans, actually here, ancient times, is a huge story. And wine lovers do love a good story.
And we hope that this is yet another exciting thing happening in the Negev that will encourage millions of visitors from all over the world who are going to want to come here, learn about the past, look at the future in terms of desert innovation, and of course try excellent wine that is being grown here in the Negev.
Seeds of the past breaking ground, allowing Israel to grow as a global wine destination. Reporting from the Negev Desert in southern Israel, Erica Jackson, I-24 News.
And we're now happy to be joined once again by Rabbi Yaakov Kermeyer, the former rabbi of Manhattan's Fifth Avenue Synagogue, living here also with a very interesting organization called Yakir. Hello and good to see you, and Chag Sameach to you.
Chag Sameach to you as well. It's a really pleasure to be back with you.
So first of all, listen, Fifth Avenue Synagogue, we all know it, those of us in New York, but explain why being here and the Yakir, it's an NGO, it's a nonprofit, correct?
Correct.
Explain your work and how it's relevant to Sukkot.
Yakir exists to bring different segments of Israeli society together when, unfortunately, they don't often come together enough. So
that's a polite way of putting what we're all dealing with right now here in Israel, yes.
Yeah, except that I even reach beyond the Jewish community to bring together Jews and the loyal non-Jewish citizens of Israel, like the Druze, the Bedouins, the South Lebanese Christians who came over the border and now send their children to serve in the army. So we bring together all of the different groups that want Israel to succeed and to thrive and to achieve greater understanding and friendship between those groups.
Right, of course, and the Jewish people specifically have such an interesting story in their own right. They're loyal to the country in which they live, serve in the army and whatnot. So I imagine that's very fulfilling when you're working with the Jewish community here.
Very fulfilling, and it's especially, I think, meaningful and resonates very strongly when we reach the holiday of Sukkot.
Of course.
Because Sukkot is a holiday, like all of the holidays in the Bible, which has a historical Jewish component, it has an agricultural component, and it also has a universal component. and that universal component about embracing all of the peoples of the world and really understanding and appreciating their humanity and their common spirituality with us is something that's really core to the holiday as well.
Right. Rabbi, if you could explain to our viewers kind of the meaning of the Arba'at Haminim, the ritual you're doing in the sukkah and the sukkah itself, why each of these things are so important.
Well, the 4 species on the most basic level, which include the etrog, or the citron, looks a little bit like a lemon, the palm branch, the myrtle branch, and the arava, the willow leaves, those are all tied in to the agricultural part of the holiday. Sukkot is the time when all of the crops from the farmers have been brought into their storage homes, and now the farmer and all of Israel is finally able to take a deep sigh of relief and realize that we're going to have enough to eat and we're going to have enough to live for the year ahead. And so it was a day of real great celebration, this holiday of Sukkot this week, because we realized that God had blessed us with agricultural bounty. And so we take samples of that bounty, the 4 species, and we shake them all around in different directions where God is present in all directions as a way of thanking God for the bounty with which we have been blessed. The etrog is viewed as a very special fruit because it has taste and also pleasant fragrance. The palm branch, which comes from a date palm, dates are edible, it has taste, but it doesn't have any smell. And the myrtle branch, which has fragrance but no taste, and then finally the willow, which has neither taste nor smell, are supposed to represent all of the different types of people. People who have taste, knowledge, internal quality, people who might not have much depth internally but are giving people, that's the fragrance which exudes beyond us. You have the taste without the fragrance without the taste, and then those individuals who are very simple, plain, and don't seem to have much impact at all. We don't lose sight of anyone. On Sukkot, we bring everybody together in an embrace and recognize that every human being created in the image of God is of infinite importance. And that is really the symbol of the 4 species, which can't be taken and each one lifted aloft on its own. They all have to be brought together.
Wow. So beautiful. Also explaining the sukkah itself and the whole idea, also like the concealed light, the or haganuz you sometimes hear. Explain why sitting in the sukkah and the fact that there isn't a roof, you see the sky, what it does spiritually to people who enter it. Everybody who enters it. Again, it's for everybody, like we all said.
Well, the sukkah, this very, very basic thatched hut, is something which is a very, very important therapeutic response to modernity. And it's always been a response to whatever was the modernity of the age, in the sense that we leave our comfortable, sturdy homes and we place ourselves in a rather flimsy hut or shelter. We remind ourselves that all of the fancy and glitzy things in life are really not ultimately important.
Wow, it's so beautifully explained. Thank you so much for being with us and explaining the deeper hidden secrets behind the holiday of Sukkot. Thank you very much.
Pleasure to be with you always.
Welcome back to our special Sukkot episode of Holy Land Uncovered, and I'm very pleased to be joined now by Aon Cooper, the Executive Vice President of Jerusalem's Shear Institute. Hello, and Hag Sameach to you.
Hag Sameach. I'm pleased to be here with you this morning.
It is finally to be here, to be part of the holiday of Sukkot, which every year we all look forward to. It's an experience of endless light and energy. We've had a very challenging year here in Israel. So explain from your perspective the meaning of Sukkot and why this year maybe we could get some extra energy than years past.
I think that standing here in Jerusalem, opposite Mount Zion, it gives me a sense of the experience of ancient Israel and the farmer, the simple farmer. The Torah speaks in a multiplicity of voices, and it is able through one holiday to convey so many messages, so that Sukkot is mentioned 5 or 6 times in the Torah, but it takes on a very different context each time. In the book of Shemot, in Exodus, you have the holiday being called Chag HaAsif, Tkufat HaShana. This is the holiday of the ingathering. After you've gathered in everything, you celebrate. And Tkufat HaShana, it's really the completion of the cycle of pilgrimage holidays.
Wow.
And that's how it's described. It's starting with Pesach, continuing with Shavuot, and now we come to Sukkot at the end of the year. And it's just before the rains and before the rainy season. And that's what gives it its annual agricultural impact, because in Masechet Rosh Hashanah, in the Talmud, it says that we're judged on Sukkot for the rains in the coming year. So it's a very powerful experience for that farmer. At the same time, there are customs or mitzvot associated very much with the holiday. The 3 of them really, in ancient times, of course, there was the Korban, the sacrifice, and then there's also the Sukkot, the idea of Sukkah, of sitting in the Sukkah for 7 days. And there's also the bringing together of the 4 species. And these are the 3 main customs associated with the holiday. And those are found in the book of Vayikra, Leviticus, and in Numbers.
Okay.
And there they're described to themselves. They're not associated, say, with the pilgrimage itself. It says, this is what you're going to do. This is how you do the customs. And then in Dvarim, there's another message. And the message is, come to the place where that God's chosen, and meaning Jerusalem later on. And here you're going to celebrate. And not only are you going to celebrate, there's a message of inclusion. And the 2 times it's mentioned in, Sukkot is mentioned in Dvarim, in Deuteronomy, you have the first time it mentions the stranger at your gates. That person is celebrating with you as well. And the second time, it's the Hakel. At the end of the sabbatical year, everyone gathers for Sukkot and reads Torah. The men, the women, the children, the stranger, everyone together is commanded to celebrate this holiday together. So there's a very strong message of inclusion.
Right.
All of Am Yisrael. If you ask for a message, that's one message for today. The message of really everyone has a message. Everyone's tefillah is heard. Everyone has to empower themselves with their Judaism in the way they understand it, to hear Torah and to hear the many voices in Torah. One last point. This multiplicity of voices is also a multiplicity of messages. So, for example, you have the message of the annual cycle. You do the mitzvot, you do the pilgrimage, and God will reward you with rains in their season and bountiful harvest. That's the first message, but that's only one message. Then we have a historical message linking every holiday to going out of Egypt and the receiving of Torah. Going out of Egypt, of course, is Pesach and the parting of the Red Sea, and then receiving Torah 7 weeks later on Shavuot, and finally the experience of the desert itself. And even the holiday and even the customs are very tied to that. Sitting in booths, Sukkot, is not something you do when the rains are coming. You go home. But we're told to sit in booths like you do in the fields during the summer, or as a reminder of our experience in the desert. We lived in Sukkot. We lived in houses made out of
that
or
was
huts.
The first time historically that the sukkahs were established was in Sinai during the
Sinai.
Exodus.
And
during
even
the
today,
exile.
and even today, you'll find these kinds of structures among the Bedouins, particularly at this time of year. In southern Sinai. So that's a second message. It's a historical message. It's not just binding us to the land, it's binding us to our history.
Right.
And the third message, maybe the most succinct, is that message of inclusion. This holiday is for everyone. And I suppose if you look at the custom of Ushpizin today, of receiving guests on Sukkot, every Jewish holiday is imbued with a social message. And that message is one of, this is a holiday for everyone. It's one of inclusion, and it's one of hospitality, and it's one of tzedakah, of charity, and of gemilut chesed. And that's the third voice that you're hearing in Torah. And of course, the sages took a lot of these messages and they adapted them to life outside of Israel, and things, and they found new messages that were more appropriate to a different environment.
Right. Before we wrap, tell us quickly, because I know the Shear Institute does a lot of very inspirational work in Ukraine that started even before the war. So explain what your rabbi, the female rabbi who is based there, is going to be doing for Sukkot with those in Ukraine right now.
Just one word on the Institute.
Yeah.
We're an academic institution. We are a graduate school. We also have a Beit Midrash, where people learn religious studies and study for the conservative, the Masorti rabbinate. And we also have a center in Tel Aviv that's more culturally. It's a I would call it a contemporary Jewish cultural center. And we also have the Tali programs in schools, where we work in hundreds of Israeli schools and kindergartens. Again, all with the idea of empowering people's Jewish identity, with knowledge of Judaism, of tradition, and so forth. Now, about 30 years ago, after the fall of the Soviet Union, some of our rabbis and rabbinical students went to Ukraine and Russia to kind of seek out what's going on there, and see if there's what we could contribute to reviving Jewish identity and among the Jews there who had lost so much, both in the Shoah and under communism. And we founded schools and a camp Ramah, which operates to this day in Ukraine. And now there are communities which are founded by graduates of our schools in the camp. And they were in, pre-war, they were in Kharkiv in the north, which really suffered in the war. Kiev, Odessa, Chernivtsi. Chernivtsi in southwest Ukraine is far from the front, and it became a refugee, a refugee center, where people passing through to Romania stopped, Jews and non-Jews, and they were fed in our center, which became a soup kitchen. And some people stayed there, and we helped them to settle there. And so we've been running an emergency program for all our communities in Ukraine, and we've managed to run Camp Ramah for the kids, some of whom are coming from cities which are bombarded. And we've managed to run it again in that area where it's quiet 2 summers in a row, which is a miracle. And right now, Rabbi Irina Gritsevskaya, who's the director of Midreshet Shechter, the NPO that runs the programs in Ukraine, is there. She just led Yom Kippur services in Chernivtsi, and she's right now today on her way to Kiev to build a sukkah with the community at our center in Kiev. So it's an amazing thing. So we're very busy here in Israel, but we're also busy outside of Israel with Jewish communities as well.
Aon Cooper, thank you very much for your time and sharing all of the fantastic work the Shear Institute is doing.
Thank you, Emily, and Chag Sameach.
Chag Sameach to you. And we will be right back after the break. Please don't go anywhere. When we come back, we have much more of our special Sukkot location episode of Holy Land Uncovered. Stay tuned. To our special Sukkot episode of Holy Land Uncovered on location outside of Jerusalem. And I'm very pleased now to be joined by a very interesting woman, Dr. Shula Lederman of the Shear Institute. Hello and Chag Sameach to you.
Hello, Emily. Chag Sameach.
So I know you are so passionate and proud of all of your work over many years. In fact, you're still even working, even your own retirement. your background, in art history and specifically Jewish art. Explain from your perspective, first of all, why Sukkot and the architecture and the sukkah itself is such a piece of art that sometimes we don't take a step back and realize that it is.
Okay, Sukkot is architecture actually, because we are told to build something outside the house, meaning at the time when people just gathered all their crops and everything, they are told to go out, to leave their house and to be outside under the skies and everything, and be grateful for the things they got. Mm-hmm. So I was asked to write a chapter in a book on Jewish architecture, and it was specifically under Sukkot. What is the architecture of Sukkot? Basically, all the specification are not really architectural specification. We are told that we are supposed to be outside and we have to have 4 walls, at least 3 walls, and a schach, meaning a covering on top that you can see the stars from. So you move in, some people sleep in a sukkah, they really live in a sukkah. But as it says in the book of Leviticus, you're supposed to, on chapter 23, verse 43, it says you should do that so that you teach your children how we lived when we came out of Egypt.
Wow.
They have to experience it. And this is really didactic. And they should be outside and remember what was. Now, the remembrance is very important because the content is full of meaning. And the idea is that you eat there, you welcome guests, you bless every time, you do all the things outside. So we really don't have specific specification, like how tall it will be. The rabbis over time interpreted what was in the Bible and made all the specification. Now, artistically, the first time I could see what sukkah looked like was in the Middle Ages, when they had machzorim. Machzorim are books of prayers and poetry.
Shula, also tell us about this event, the Sukkah City in New York's Union Square. Yes, it was 2010, but it's very, very interestingly significant for the times that we're in now. Explain.
Okay, the Sukkah City sent out a manifesto about the Sukkah. They said this competition described the Sukkah in our contemporary terms. The Sukkah is a means of ceremonially practicing homelessness, while at the same time remaining deeply rooted. It calls on us to acknowledge the changing of the seasons, to reconnect with the agricultural past, and to take a moment to dwell on and dwell in impermanence.
Shula, 600 people replied to this call, architects from all walks of life, ethnicities, religions, but there's one that really struck you because, again, Sukkot is about being, in a way, being homeless. So how do they creatively help the homeless by building Sukkot from their cardboard homes?
These 2 architects went around New York and bought the cardboards that homeless people slept on, and they used those to make the sukkah. And it was not, it was designed in such a way that it spoke about the whole manifesto of being ceremoniously helpless, but yet being able to continue living. And the idea of the temporary of Sukkot and the temporality of being homeless. So at the end, when they won, they got the money of the prize and gave it to the homeless.
Wow, beautiful.
So
we should all do that all the time. Dr. Shula Lederman, thank you so much for your passion and continued great work and dedication to art.
Thank you, Emily. Thank you very much.
Our culinary correspondent Gili Elad is continuing her adventure exploring the diversity of cuisine throughout Israel. And now, just in time for the holiday, she is introducing us to a woman from Jerusalem who keeps the culinary tradition alive of Sephardic food. Take a bite.
היום אני הולכת להכין
Today, I'm making Sukkot pastries, which are unique to Sephardic Jewish cuisine. I'm starting with travados, sweet cookies that are traditionally filled with nuts, but for the holiday, I prepare them with dates and citrus fruit. Why dates and citrus? Because Sukkot is associated with the 4 species: palm branch, myrtle, willow, and citron. Since palm branch and citron aren't edible, I use the closest ingredients. Another dish I make is pastelikos, a filo pastry filled with our traditional minced meat mixture called gomo. But just like travados for the holiday of Sukkot, I replace the filling with dates and citrus. I'm 20th generation to Sephardic Jews who were expelled from Spain and arrived in Jerusalem. Since I feel like a representative of my community, it's important to me to preserve traditions and the Ladino language. But as much as I'm connected to my family's Spanish past, I'm even more connected to Jerusalem, the city I spent all my life in. I turned my house into a living museum of Jerusalem as it was in the 1940s and 50s. Being part of the project, Women and Tales in Jerusalem, I host groups here and expose them to Jerusalem's Sephardic heritage. Every event ends with an authentic meal, which gives a taste of my life story.
והבית הזה הוא סיפור חיי. יש לי חוברת מתכונים מקדמת דנא.
All my recipes are written in an old cookbook created by my mother. She always said that each holiday has its own special dishes and unique silverware. Up until today, I follow her legacy. These Sukkot recipes are a part of a bigger picture, a picture that is about memories, tradition, and even Ladino songs that are always in the background.
שירי לדינו. Abri tu puerta cerrada.
And we're now joined by a very talented singer-songwriter and an amazing woman, Shira Miriam. Thank you so much for being with us on our special episode.
Thank you.
So explain, you are a singer-songwriter. Explain the song that you're going to be performing for us and why it's so meaningful to you.
So the main thing for me about music is that I found the way that I can pronounce my prayers and my faith through God, through music. And I really got effect from gospel music, where people around the world take it to the church. And I would really love to take this to put some soul and, the rhythm into the Judaism, into the piyutim and all that. And this is what I found, the way that I connected.
Wow.
And
what's it called?
The song that I'm going to perform is not a gospel, it's more like soul music. Soul, it's called Reuya, worthy. It means I'm worthy of loving and receiving love from myself before I give to all.
Wow.
As a mama, as a person, as a teacher, as someone that always needs to give to others.
Yep.
This is the time that I stop and give myself so I can give to others.
Wow, it's so beautiful that you say even for yourself, because I think a lot of people don't feel worthy.
First
of love,
of all,
of receiving
first
love.
of all, to remind yourself, I'm worthy of love.
Wow, amazing. Thank you so much for sharing your story, and we cannot wait to hear you perform. So
thanks
again.
for having me.
Have a
Bye.
wonderful, wonderful holiday, and thank you all for watching this special episode of Holy Land Uncovered. And without further ado, we are going to be seeing why we are all worthy.
אחר כך את כולם, אחר כך את כולם. אני ראויה לאהוב קודם את עצמי, אחר כך את כולם, אחר כך את כולם. מדי פעם לפעמים הראי מבשר לי שמה שבפנים לא משנה, כשמדי פעם לפעמים מביטה בעצמי יורדות לי דמעות, דמעות נסתרות, מה הן מסתירות, מה אני ראויה לאהוב קודם את עצמי, אחר כך את כולם, אחר כך את כולם. אני ראויה לאהוב קודם את עצמי, אחר כך את כולם, אחר כך את כולם. אני ראויה, אני ראויה, אני ראויה. טוב, בוא נכתוב משהו טוב, משהו טוב. אני אישה חמה ואוהבת, לבשל מכל הלב אני אוהבת, מערבבת, חברה טובה בעת צרה, ופה לתת יד כשצריך עזרה, יצירתית, משמחת, מרימה אווירה מצוברחת, מוזיקה, מוזיקה אותי מרפאה, מנגנת שרה, מסכימה לתת לזרימה לקרות, לתת לעצמי להיות, כי מה שיוצא ממני בלי לכוון זה מה שבעצם מגוון את האמת הייחודית שלי, שלי, כי יש לי מקום בשבילי. אני ראויה לאהוב קודם את עצמי, אחר כך את כולם, אחר כך את כולם. אני ראויה לאהוב קודם את עצמי, אחר כך את כולם, אחר כך את כולם. ראויה להיות בכאן ועכשיו, ראויה להיות איתי בכל מצב, בכל שלב, גם אם נועם, גם אם מורכב, זה לא לשווא, אני כבר לא מובנת מאליו. אני בת של מלך שווה זהב. אני ראויה לאהוב קודם את עצמי, אחר כך את כולם, אחר כך את כולם. אני ראויה לאהוב קודם את עצמי, אחר כך את כולם, אחר כך את כולם.